So, let's do taking a compliment. Since we just talked about it last night.
Mm-hmm. Take a compliment, bro. That's what it needs to say. That's what the title needs to be. Or taking a compliment, bruh. Have you seen the shirts?
Taking a compliment?
No,
or
take
a compliment.
Take
bruh?
a compliment, bruh.
Why do you say that?
Because people will be like,
it's in your face.
oh my gosh, I want to listen to that. I need to take a compliment. Because it's like, okay, this will be hip.
What if we call it, why you frontin'?
Why you frontin'? I don't think that has anything to do with compliments.
I'm thinking compliments. Okay. Take a compliment, bro. All right. Let's do this. In our intro, I'm going to say something. I'm going to give you a compliment, and I want you to no, there's no way. I want you to like push it off or whatever, and then I'll be like, take a compliment, bro. That's the title of our episode. How about something like that?
Okay.
All right, let's do it. I've already checked the mics. They are ready. Hey everyone, welcome to the Shrink Think Podcast. It's Nathan and Aaron here today. We are so excited as always to be with you, rolling out some fresh new content. We are talking today about some relationship dynamics that I think a lot of people have trouble with, but I gotta first of all just say thank you, Nathan, for coming up with this idea. We were talking at dinner last night and you had this great topic, you were explaining it, and I just think you did such a good job of rolling it out and laying it out for me that it was super easy to jump on board with. So thank you for all of your work on this topic.
You're welcome. No, I don't want it. Don't take. It's okay, Aaron. It's not a big deal.
No, seriously, it was your brainchild, and I just got to give you credit. So thank you.
Well,
dude, take a compliment, bro.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Just say thank you. I appreciate that.
Thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Complete my joy.
Answer.
So that is the title of the episode, Take a Compliment, Bro, because, and I think Nathan actually does not have a problem taking a compliment, so he's kind of struggling.
Thank you.
He was like, oh, wait, say more. Can you elaborate on that? I know I'm this, but can you say that too?
I think you missed about 40%
Right.
of what your possibilities were.
Exactly.
Say more about the brainchild component.
Because the issue that we're talking about here is oftentimes in relationships when you are trying to give somebody a compliment, the other person might have a hard time with it, and it can actually kind of create some conflict between the two of you, literally over trying to give somebody a compliment, to build them up, encourage them, or whatever. And it's well, how did we? It's I deposited this $100 into the bank. Why do I have negative 150 now? Where did that money go? Right.
Yeah. Well, yeah, if you think of it like money, like a compliment was money, and you go to hand somebody $100 bills, no, and they walk away. You hand them, you put out here's a $100 bill, and they just, like the freaking, what's the guy, the servant guy in Mr. Deeds, just whoosh, obviously it's super old.
Very, very sneaky.
Very sneaky.
So
anyway,
yeah. So I guess let's set this up. There are several things that can be going on, and as we talked about this yesterday, I think you gotta consider the perspective of the compliment giver. We'll call him the giver of the compliment, and then the receiver, the person that's receiving the words or the affirmation or whatever. You gotta consider, I think, both perspectives. But kind of fundamentally, what do you think is going on here with giving compliments?
So how this came up was I was talking with a person who was it kind of came up random, and they were like, I cannot take compliments. I have a hard time with it.
I think that's really common. Actually, a lot of people do.
Yeah. So, and that's why I was thinking later we should talk about this, because this is not abnormal. A lot of people struggle with this, and there's different reasons for it. But what was interesting, and when we were talking last night of how you kind of came at it, I was like, I have not even considered that side. I am only focused on the one side, which is the person having the problem taking the compliment. And you're coming a lot from the side of the person trying to give the compliment and what that feels like when it's not received.
So let's start with, and this is great. I think this is, we sort of compliment each other here. Let's let's start with the person receiving the compliment and kind of where this came from and what you were observing or what you know from that side, and I'll fill in the giver side.
Yeah, I think there's kind of a layered component to this, because some people might be able to simply say thank you and have that be it. But when the person giving the compliment is trying to really help make note that the person was really good at this thing, or is really trying to compliment them about that, and so they take it, they make sure they know that, so they say something more.
It's not just like, hey, thanks for dinner.
Yeah. No, I really liked it. You really thought really well about like what it was that you knew that I liked my steak cooked that way, and you sent it back to the chef, whatever. In that way, the person at that point now feels focused on.
They spotlighted. I love that word.
Like, turn the spotlight on. There you are.
All of a sudden, if you're introvert, you're like, and I'm sweating.
Right. Is this the sun that turned on me from 3 feet away? So there's the focused on component, and then there's so you're really visible, and you're somehow supposed to be. It's like, how do we turn the light off? How do we make this light turn off? Right. So there's a vulnerability which also can lead to like this idea of a one up, one down position, because you feel vulnerable, you feel low, in the sense that the person is seeing something in you that maybe you didn't. Maybe you hope that could be true about you, but you don't trust it, and then they mention it, and now it's like there's kind of a couple different ways to move from there. One is that you just want to run. The other one is you think, oh...
I'm picturing this. You're at dinner, and the person sitting across from you gives you a compliment. Thank you so much for taking me out to dinner and for this place. And then the person just gets up and runs.
I'm hoping it's not quite that extreme. I am... Let's just assume. No, anyway, so I'm saying like that feeling, the fight or flight feeling of you just want to get out of there, turn the light off. The other side of the coin is that you go ahead and accept it, and then the person's joking. They not joking, but they make more light of it, and then you took it more serious than they meant it from what it sounded like.
So maybe in that instance, they gave somewhat of a compliment, and you're like, oh wow, they're being really serious, and you like took it seriously, but they were kind of staying a little bit on the lighter side. It was still a compliment, but was maybe mixed in with some teasing or joking or something along those lines.
Right, and now you are a fool.
You feel like a fool.
Like, yeah. And so maybe that's happened to you. And so it's hard for you to go like, I'm going to go ahead and accept this because this is going to, I don't know where they're coming from. Like, there's a scene in a movie that always reminds me of this piece, but at any rate, it's too old, quite frankly.
There are a couple things that I think of when you say that. Like when you're spotlighted, I can imagine like a couple things going on for the person receiving the compliment. One is, sure, they feel spotlighted, and under that spotlighted, I think they might easily feel exposed, or they might have a fear of being exposed, because with all that attention on them and you see their good side or something good that they're doing, you might also see their bad. And because those two things are always, where you can have visibility and clarity on someone in something good, that means you can also see their bad. And, we are always comparing the worst of ourselves to the best in other people. So I'm looking at like the outside version of you, like, oh, you look all put together and so wonderful. And, you know what you're doing, because I don't know what's going on in your head. But inside my head, I'm thinking, oh, I'm so this and I'm terrible at that and I fumbled through this. And so I'm comparing kind of that. I know my worst, right? I'm not considering that you see my outside, which is like, no, you don't seem that way. You seem perfectly fine. You seem perfectly normal or whatever to me. So I'm afraid that my weakness is going to be exposed, first of all, but with that spotlighting. And then second of all, if I appear to want that compliment and I grab it, it looks like I need it, or that I think more highly of myself than than you were intending me to be, and then I'm like, oh, now I just look like I'm arrogant, or yeah, exactly.
Yeah, exactly. And that is completely the side of it. I would add in that it can feel, I think, inauthentic. So like you say good job or whatever, I in my head go like, well, there's 45 things that went wrong with that job. So now I think you're just blowing smoke on my butt. And so for me to say like thank you is like I'm agreeing that was good enough or that was whatever, which is inauthentic to myself because I think like I'm only focused on how I came up short.
Right.
And so which I think actually I do that.
Are you feeling spotlighted or exposed at all right now?
Not yet, but we're on our way.
Let me put the camera on you right now. There you go. There we go. Let's just keep it on there for a while. Did you know your face is turning red? Bright red. Are you sweating?
Like that light. Just keep turning.
Are you feeling exposed?
I'm doing.
Wait, let me turn my heater on.
Let me turn my heater on. He does actually have a heater behind him right now.
It's for my feet.
Yeah, because your feet are so alone.
They're always getting cold.
They're so distant from your body and all of your blood. Anyway, yeah, no, I was thinking about that. I'm like, dang, I think I do that. Like you get critical and go like, oh, well, okay, I can see what you're saying. But if you really knew how good I could have been with that, then you probably would have held on until I hit that mark.
And this reminds me of like on these cooking competition shows where people are given these ingredients or whatever, and they present it, to the chef or whatever, and they're like, here's, food B that I made you. I was going to make you food A that was going to be really good, but that didn't work out, so I made you B. And now they're like, oh, okay. I mean,
thanks.
That other one sounds like it was going to be good, but like if you had just presented like, I made you B, it's like, wow, this is great. I didn't even know that, this was a mistake or whatever. So this is, I think, maybe a good segue to the other side, because where I come from is on the giver side. There's a whole nother experience that's happening with that's problematic, and that is actually, I would describe it as it can be quite hurtful. I don't think that's your intention, but I think it's important for people to know who identify with that receiver side that it can be hurtful to the person giving the gift. So we're using this language in the beginning, like I'm giving you $100, or I just said I'm giving a gift. A compliment is like a little gift. And if you think about it like that, I have taken the time to go shopping, right, to buy the gift, so it's cost me something, and I've wrapped it, and I've figured out how I'm going to present it, and then I've presented it to you, and there's some vulnerability in that, in giving the gift to you, right? Because I'm showing you as the giver how much you mean to me, or something about you has impacted me so much so that it's motivated me to spend some money or to give something away back to you, to show your value. And so if you reject that, if you deny that gift, that can be really hurtful. It's like, no, I don't need that. No, that's not really important. No, I don't deserve that. It's like, no, but I think you do. Now it's a competition between, the value I think you have and the value you think you have. And if you are going to win, then you're kind of rejecting and denying what I think. You're telling me that what the value I think you have is invalid.
Now, let me add into there, because I get how, so a key part of that is the value that, like using the pronouns that you're talking about, me and you type of a thing, it would be the value I have to you.
Correct.
So you're saying when you're complimenting, it's about you are highlighting the value that the other person has to yourself.
Or it could also be the value
or just
that you have that I observe. Because it might be, you know what, Nathan, I need to give you this compliment. You have a tremendous impact on your community. And I noticed that, or I think that's really valuable.
Right.
So yeah, there is some connection back to me, the giver, saying, yeah, I think this is really valuable, and that's why I'm giving you the compliment.
Right. So to be clear, this came up last night when we were talking this through, and this is not going to be about this, but I think some of you out there might be going like, well, then you're making it all about the complimenter. And it's like, no, like that's what, how do you differentiate that between like love bombing or whatever. It's like that's where basically the complimenter is doing that to get the attention, and that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about considering the authenticity of the complimenter. Because, and honestly, when Aaron and I were talking last night, I was coming so much from the place of trying to think through like how hard it is to receive it. And I didn't even think about the other side of it. So when Aaron first started talking about that, I was like, what? You're making this about you? I'm just kidding. I didn't do that. But it was like, whoa, there is an entire other side to this. And it's true. If you are the complimenter and you're like sitting there thinking like, oh my gosh, I noticed this about you, and you may think, I don't know if you realize how cool that is. Like, I don't know if you realize how awesome that little piece about you really is, and I just want to let you know.
That is the gift that you're giving to the other person. That's why it's not about the giver, right? It relates to the giver. It does impact me if I'm the giver, which we'll talk about in a second. But it really is, I want you to have this gift so that you're better, your life is better somehow, that you feel better about yourself. You see yourself differently because of this gift that I'm giving you.
So one of the things that's true about Aaron also is that he looks for an opportunity to notice somebody in their authentic space and where they're at, and then he wants to say it. Like, it's like you're in the background taking candid photos, like, you know, like, oh, look, in real life, you're badass. You know, whatever.
Like I was picking my nose. Right.
But the way you pick it.
Right. But you're so unafraid. I mean, you really dug in there.
And so I could see how, like, that, like, one thing that Aaron says, I was going to say a lot, but it's like, it's just who you are, is that you love people. Mm-hmm. But that's true. Because it's like, that is just who you are. Like, so you're looking at like, oh my gosh, people are so amazing. Look at how amazing you are. You know, like, right. And people, I don't know that you know this, but like, you were talking about an episode that you were on Podcast Wise, I think with Lisa Mustard. Mm-hmm. And you gave her, like, you spoke into her heart, gave her a compliment, and then she, I guess, teared up or something on the podcast. But it was funny. What was funny to me about that, or maybe, I don't know if funny is the right word, but you seemed a little surprised, a little bit. Like, and I was sitting there going, dude, you catch people off guard caring about them all the time. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Because we're not oftentimes looking at that. We're just doing life, that kind of thing. So when you brought it up the other day, like when we were talking about the compliment thing, and then you came to the other side, and part of me was like, of course you're looking at it this way.
And from my standpoint, I'm aware of that. Like, people are just living life, and people are not doing this, right, typically. And that's kind of like my issue. It's like, I think people are not doing this enough. That's why I think it is important to do this, to give these gifts to one another, because in my view, it is seeing people, and it's like, in a certain sense, speaking identity over them. Like, people have stories about who they are that's based off of all this negative stuff that they've experienced, or maybe parents, family members, teachers, coaches have told them. And so when somebody comes around and gives you a compliment, it's like, no, this is who you really are. It's like you're given a compliment that's sort of correcting that story and speaking true identity over them. Mm-hmm. And so the key thing for the giver is that, and I said this earlier, if I'm giving you a compliment, giving you that gift, it's important for you, the receiver, to complete my joy, because I want to see you feeling good about yourself. You deserve it. I see who you are, other people see who you are, and I want you to see who you are through my lens. You might not believe it, mm-hmm. right? It might take you some effort, but if you can work at it and see yourself through my lens, you would realize, yeah, I actually do like that about myself, or I am that way. Mm-hmm. And you do see it. And it's that same exposed feeling, or that same spotlighted feeling, is actual, at the same time, is being seen and valued. The very thing that you might be afraid of is actually, I think, the very thing that a lot of people want and desire.
So in that moment, how we started this off, we were talking about the vulnerability, and I mentioned like one up, one down in the spotlight, like you were just highlighting again. Really what we're talking about, there's on the two sides, overall, it's the complimenter is doing the invitation into a vulnerably intimate connection moment.
Exactly, a deeper connection.
So there's an invitation there that the complimentee is receiving.
Mm-hmm.
Has the opportunity to receive. And so in the beginning of this episode, we were talking about the fear that automatically comes up for that. But if you can consider that the complimenter is coming at this from an authentic place, that they are noticing something and they are wanting to experience that closeness about you, which is why they've highlighted it, then your invitation is to go ahead and walk into it. Go ahead and receive it.
And it can be difficult, I'll just say, as we kind of close this up here, it can be difficult and it will take some practice for you. And I would say, as a suggestion, quite simply, if somebody's giving you a compliment, try not to squirm, try not to do any of that running, try not to say much other than to look at them and to say, thank you. That means a lot. Or thank you for saying that. It was really thoughtful of you to say. And hold that compliment. Sit with it, right? You're going to want to, like you said, run or get really anxious and fidgety, but see if you can practice sitting with it and staying in that invitation for connection. Mm-hmm. As just a quick little story, my dad just had a retirement party. He worked at this university for 39 years as an accountant, and apparently he had this impeccable record. He had all these annual audits, but he had a 100% audit rate, like no problems over the course of 39 years, which is incredible. People got up and said all these wonderful things about him, and he was just sitting there taking these compliments, kind of like, thank you. Like, these are moments that were accumulating and building for this like really powerful experience of like this person and that person and this person, to honor who this person is and what he had done over the course of 39 years. And it was a very emotional, very powerful experience, because he took it, he allowed it in, he didn't, push aside or whatever. But how awkward would that have been? How diminished would that experience have been if he had said, oh no, I don't deserve any of that, like I didn't really do anything or whatever. It just makes it more awkward, right? Instead, it was like this beautiful connection. So I just want to encourage you in those little moments when somebody's giving you a compliment, whether it's a big thing, like a retirement party, or just a small compliment. Hey, thank you for being this way. I appreciate you for that, or whatever. Mm-hmm. Take the compliment, bro. Complete my joy.
All right, folks. Have a great day. I was going to say one more thing, and I thought I was going to leave it.
That was good.
Oh, that was good.
I was kind of surprised. You got I don't know, really vulnerable for a minute, and I was like, and I think you were a little bit uncomfortable. You're like, oh, whoops, I'm super exposed. No, but I appreciate how you went there, and then also like the thing you said about me also was like, hey, thank you, because I think that was a cool, authentic space to be in.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was not contrived, so mm-hmm. That's why I was like, oh, this is just the truth. Mm-hmm. What I was thinking at the end that I didn't say was, it may be helpful if you're the receiver to say, thank you, and if you're to err on the side of trying to be authentic, so you can actually maybe work on receiving it over time, would be like, I don't think I noticed that about myself. So you give some space to be able to.
It's like it's authentic. It's, you're not pushing it away, but you're authentically saying, I don't think I knew that about myself, or I don't think I see that.
Yeah.
But I'm trying.
Right. It's like, okay. And then what'll happen is the complimenter will be like, I'm gonna look for all of them then.
Yeah. Or let me tell you more. Right. No, give me time. Too much too soon.